Hello everyone and welcome to the latest and greatest episode of the Low Podcast. I'm Tyler.
I'm Josh.
And we are back at the Bachelor Pad. We are back at the Trap House. We are back at the...
Crack them, baby.
We are finally back.
It has been a month. A whole 4 weeks. It has been a month, ladies and gentlemen.
We haven't been on hiatus. We've just been busy.
Which is kind of like the lame way of saying we've been on hiatus unintentionally.
Yeah, look, our schedules haven't really lined up too well for the past month.
No, I mean, mine's been fine.
I've been busy.
For those that don't know, this is my office space.
Yes.
I live here.
Yeah.
Not here, but in the other room.
Yeah.
So I'm always available.
Yes, I've been very, very busy. And believe it or not, we've done pretty well with doing a weekly podcast pretty much every week for the past 2.5 years.
Yes.
And every once in a while, stuff gets in the way, so it happens.
Does. But I'm excited to be back.
Oh, it feels good to be back. Like, I haven't done that intro in a month.
No, and you still do it flawlessly, my man.
Flawlessly, thank you.
You do well.
You hit us with the crack den flawlessly. And your name. I didn't even forget.
Thank God. There was one episode where I didn't say my name, and that threw you off.
Really?
Yeah. Said I was depressed.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, you were very depressed. But yeah, it feels good to be back. It feels good to finally talk about basketball. It's been a busy month, but let's get straight on into it. You've been yelling at me because you've had notes from a month ago.
So bear in mind, my notes are now 3 weeks old. I've been too busy playing video games.
And now notes from a month ago in basketball, that's like 20 games.
Yes, it has been a long time, but what I have to say, still, for the most part, still the same, still remains.
Do you want to
relevant.
jump into it?
Yes, I will, kind friend.
Well, should we recap anything that's happened over the past month?
What's changed?
Harden's at Philly.
We spoke about this.
Did we?
Yes.
What's changed? Not much.
All the teams that suck still suck. All the teams that are good are still good.
There's been certain teams that aren't in playoff contention
I'm just
anymore.
going to elaborate. That's what I was
giving me a
do.
sassy look.
No, it was a confirmation.
Okay.
That nothing much has changed.
Okay.
I wanted to start off, and I put this at the top because I know you love this team. We're both fans of this team, but you have an affiliation with this team that you don't speak about too often. I want to speak about Miami Heat.
Yes.
Top of the East right now.
Yes.
They are a phenomenal team. No one wants to talk about them, and I think that's why I wanted to talk about them now.
Yeah.
If you're top of the East, and they've consistently been in that top bracket, I think now they are the top. Why are we not talking about the Miami Heat? Because they've made it deep in the playoffs before. They're healthy now, and they're playing great.
So I wanted to touch on the Miami Heat later, so this kind of works. But the reason no one talks about the Miami Heat, because there's no drama.
There is no drama. They're just a team of Bulldogs.
They just play good defensive basketball. And I mentioned them a little bit ago. They feel a bit like a 90s team with the amount of strong defense they play. But you're right, no one's talking about it because there's no drama. There's no 40 points per game. There's no 50 points per game. It's just a bunch of double-digit scorers.
Even their two leading scorers right now, you look at the stat sheet and like they're probably eventually all-star worthy, you know, just stat-wise. But I'll go through it because I have taken some notes. It's a little bit out of whack right now, but it still remains. I did do a brief check. So Tyler Hero is averaging 20 points per game.
Yep.
That's really good for
Yes.
him. He's finally in that 20 points per game mark.
Coming off the bench.
Hell yes. 38% from three with almost 7 attempts per game.
Great numbers.
Really good. That's almost 40%. I know some people are like, if you're shooting under 40, it's not elite. That's elite on almost 7
elite.
shots per game.
Yeah.
That's elite.
As the main scorer.
Also averaging the same amount of assists as Kyle Lowry this year. And I know Kyle Lowry's not had a great year this year by any means, but the fact you've got a spot-up shooter averaging the same amount of assists as someone we know to be the main facilitator on all the teams he's played for, Tyler Hero has amped it up.
Yes, he has. A guy I've been yelling about since draft time.
Yeah, always.
Obviously, he shined in the bubble, but that's the bubble. Stuff happens. Then he had a dip, and everyone shat on him. But this is essentially pseudo what I envisioned for him as a give him the ball as a spot-up shooter, as a three-way scorer. He's doing very, very well of good efficiency.
It's insane. Like the 20 points per game off 38% from three off 7 attempts per game.
Yeah.
With the same amount of assists as Kyle Lowry this year. He is becoming such an elite offensive player.
Yes.
And he's still so young.
100%. His pick and roll is incredible. His ability to turn a quarter off like a pick incredible. Off a dribble handoff, very, very good.
When I watch him play, and I'm not comparing the two by any means, but you remember watching Ray Allen play? It was the same stroke every time. I get the same thing from looking at Hero.
Do you remember my comp for Tyler Hero when we were doing the draft? I said he had a ceiling. Do you remember what I said it was?
No.
Reggie Miller.
Yeah.
And do you kind of see it?
I can see it. I do think it'll take some time, but obviously averaging 20 points per game, an elite 3-point
that's
shooter
his ceiling.
at this regard.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see it. He's on his way
to be as deadly in the playoffs. If
Yes.
you've got a guy like this, we have seen show up in the playoffs before. I think it's an amazing thing to have on your team. So he's a big reason why Miami Heat are doing well. Also, Jimmy Butler, who people don't want to talk about either. Jimmy's averaging 21 points per game. He's their leading scorer on the team. Only 21 points per game. You'd think top of a conference, you'd have a guy with like 27 to 30 points. 21 points per game. It's generally about 10 or so less, give or take a couple points, than what you would expect.
Part of the reason they're getting talked about.
One free throw attempt behind his career high.
Yep.
Yet shooting career high free throw percentage at almost 90%.
Yep. He's
That's
always
insane.
been a great free throw shooter and can get to the line with absolute ease. No one realizes how much Jimmy flops. He flops all the fucking time. He's very good at it, but he doesn't get the hate that Embiid or Harden or Chris Paul gets. But Jimmy's very fucking good.
Even touching on that, when we look at Chris Paul's free throw numbers, when we look at Trae Young's free throw numbers, Damian Lillard's free throw numbers, drastically less because of the rule changes. Jimmy Butler is doing one free throw attempt more.
Yep.
And his career high in free throw percentage. It's insane how he keeps getting better and better despite only seeing 21 points per game.
He figured it out.
Yeah. It's the second best 2-point field goal percentage at 51% of his career.
Yep.
This late in his career, he's shooting his second best from the field 2-point, which is, I don't need to mention the three because he doesn't shoot threes.
He doesn't need to.
So that's another, you've got two guys on the team right now that are absolute rocks of the team.
Yeah.
And they're having
Somewhat career years in some regards.
And those two alone have brung them to the top of the East, because you look at Kyle Lowry, who we know has had a bad year. He's only played 48 games, so he's been out for a lot of this year. So at the time, it was like 48 of, I think, 68, something like that. So a big chunk of time there. Bam Adebayo's only played 39 games at the time of this.
Barely played any.
So barely played any. Duncan Robinson, career low, 11 points per game, 36% from three.
He's been struggling.
Yeah, it's rough. So 11 points per game, I definitely was expecting maybe 16, 17 at this point. Not 20. 20's a lot. Those are almost all-star
Especially
numbers.
for a pure spot-up shooter.
Yeah. So despite Lowry being out, despite Bam being out, despite the lack of production from Duncan Robinson, three guys which you need to show up, the first two guys I mentioned have brought them to the top of the East because they've just remained consistent, they've remained available, and absolute bulldogs on that team.
Absolutely. They're a team that doesn't get talked about because they're just a good and consistent team.
Good. And even when these guys are on, like I hear people love Bam for Defensive Player of the Year. I think he just hasn't played enough games.
Yeah.
But he's become a great defensive player.
Become a great switchable defender as well, as a 6'9" center, slightly undersized, but it means he can defend the 3 through 5. The 3 through 5, not many players can do that.
You want to know why that's extremely special? Because you've got Kyle Lowry, who's a great guard defender.
If only they had another good wing defender. I don't know, maybe Jimmy Buckets.
It's so good. They can guard every position.
Yeah.
And then because of that, because they're also switchable, zone's very easy for them to play, which is a hard thing for a lot of teams to do.
And if only they had a good defensive coach. Oh, they got Spo. You know what I mean? Like,
it does show to me, because you've got no one averaging more than 22 points per game. Your three of your other pivotal players either aren't available or aren't producing. This team shows that defense can win seasons.
yes, 100%.
And I love it. It does feel like a 90s team. You don't need to score 30 points.
Defensive mentality. Let's get to the bucket. And like they've had good showings from Gabe Vincent. Max Strus has come out and shot the house down boots, but they're just a good, solid team all round. And they don't have someone on for 50 and 60, which I do want to talk about, but they're just a good damn team.
Just a phenomenal team, man. I wanted to start it because I know you love them.
Yeah.
I love watching them play. And one of your boys, Hero, is really, really become one of their go-to guys.
Yeah.
And I love to see it.
I do want to touch on him in a little bit because I want to
Hero?
talk about the Six Man of the Year stuff.
All right, well, we'll do six man at the end.
Yeah.
I haven't even thought about six
I
man.
want to talk about awards in general.
Okay.
'Cause we always talk about MVP, but we don't talk about the others.
Okay, cool. Other team I want to talk about, because I know we have touched on it in the past. I was going through some of our old podcast episodes, and some of the teams we used to shit on got good, which is interesting. Like Atlanta got good, New York got good, Chicago got good. They're the best of the three right now.
Yeah.
So when I wrote this, Chicago Bulls were 2.5 games behind the first seed. That's insane. From when I was listening to the podcast, we were talking about three teams. One of them, mainly New York. Obviously, I'm on the podcast. I'm going to talk about New York. And we both agreed Chicago were very far behind New York.
At the time, they were.
At the time. And that was, I'm dumbfounded listening back to that now, where they're only 2.5 games
Thinking about
back.
this team.
Yep. So, I want
This is,
to... We've
just to
always-
clarify, this is before Chicago had one of the greatest off seasons of all time.
This was Wendell Carter Jr., Kobe White, Chicago.
Yes, this was a sad time. This isn't their current roster, so here's the flaw.
I want to start.
Yeah.
We love this, man. We always have.
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan, 28 points per game.
Yes.
It's insane. He has been one of the most consistent scorers for over the past decade.
Yes.
He never gets the appreciation he deserves.
Correct.
He is finally getting it now. He's always been
Yes.
appreciated by us too.
Yes.
And he is insane. So second highest 2-point field goal attempts in his career, which is a strange thing to see now because most people are pursuing the 3-point line more. But when you compare like DeRozan and Jimmy to the rest of the league, they're not shooting threes.
No, they don't.
Yet they're having great offensive seasons and leading their teams to high seeding, which is good. So yeah, second highest, 18.2 is the second highest field goal attempts of his career. So 18.2 is a lot of shots.
It's a lot of shots.
From the field. 53%, so even higher than Jimmy from 2-point range.
So good.
It's insane. It's a thing where people say like, oh, if how are you getting paid millions and millions and millions and shooting 45% from the field? Because very rarely do you get someone shooting over half.
Yeah,
If you
and
can
he's
make
doing it.
over half your shots on over 18 shots a game, that's insane.
Yeah.
90% from the free throw line at 7 free throw attempts per game.
If you like 80 to 85 is elite is good. 85 to 90 is elite. If you can make 90 or above,
It's like the elite. If you can get to 90, it's elite of 7 attempts per game. So
Yeah.
he's still not only making shots from the field at 53%, over 18 attempts, he is getting 7 attempts at the line as well, which is obviously
7 free points.
Put all that together, 28 points per game, and we see some of his crazy games he's had. 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal as well, which is great.
Yeah.
Like we see a lot of guards struggle to get 3 rebounds, 3 assists. DeMar's getting 5 rebounds, 5 assists as someone which doesn't get any talk.
Because he started his career at the 2, eventually started playing more the 3 in his time at Toronto, like towards the end of his time at Toronto. And since then, he's played the 4, and I think he played the 5 once at San Antonio. And a lot of people say, oh, Toronto, DeMar was the best. No. DeMar was a good scorer when he was at Toronto, but he figured basketball out when he was at San Antonio. He figured out passing. He was the best playmaker on that team, and he became a great defender and a great rebounder. He has now figured out the game of basketball, and this is the best DeMar we've ever seen. And this wouldn't have happened if he didn't go to San Antonio.
Absolutely not. I remember when his first couple years in San Antonio, we may have done an episode on it actually, and we were talking about
DeMar's fit.
we said he got better.
Yes.
Despite the record not being what you'd like in Toronto, he got better.
He got better.
as a player.
Eye test, and you could watch it.
So he's only missed 4 games this season.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Bit of an Iron Man.
Very, very good.
So super reliable.
Second best season stat-wise he's ever had in his career. Only rival was 2016 season. So after 6 years after that season,
He has come back and shown, I'm still an all-star.
Yeah.
I love
I'm
everything
better than ever.
that he's done. And also hasn't averaged under 20 points per game in 9 years.
Absolute talent.
Like that's insane. We just gave praise to Hero finally reaching 20 points per game.
Yeah.
It's been almost a decade since his average under 20.
What did KD tweet at him? Thank you for playing the game with supreme skill.
Yep.
He does.
He's
Right?
effortlessly does it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's not many players in the league that can score effortlessly or make it look effortless. He
Makes
can.
it look effortless.
Yeah.
Like he always says, like he's the dude that said he wore some like Jordans or something to a game against Kobe. And Kobe's like, why are you wearing Jordans? Got smoked by
Yeah.
Kobe and has been wearing Kobe since, right?
Ever since. Yeah. He's one of the Kobe kings.
Yeah, he adores Kobe and it plays like it.
Yeah. You can
Offensively.
100% tell.
Yeah, I love it. So he's the main reason, obviously, and I just wanted to take the time to appreciate the hell out of DeMar DeRozan because he's finally on a winning team again.
100%.
And it looks like they are set up and poised to make a very deep run.
With a full team, they are, in my mind, the best team in the East.
They
Rivaling Bucks.
very well can be. Yeah.
I do want to talk about Zach LaVine as well. 24.5 points per game.
Yep.
That's elite scoring numbers.
And that's down.
Yeah, it's down. But it is, if you've got DeMar DeRozan...
Yeah, you don't need to.
It will go down.
100%. Yeah.
But the fact that they've got almost 25 points per game and 28 points per game in two guys,
Yep.
that's insane.
That's insane.
Over 50 points just between the two.
They're the best offensive team in the East, in my mind.
Yep.
Also, 40% from three from 7 attempts per game.
Yeah.
That's the best three-point shooter we've mentioned thus far in this episode.
I'm pretty sure Levine's efficiency is up because now he doesn't have to take every stupid shot.
Yeah, I'm also career low in turnovers.
Yep.
In over past 4 years, I believe.
Because he doesn't have to just be a shot clock hero.
It's good to see him.
Just play Zach LaVine basketball where it's not all dependent on him.
Yeah. I've been singing his praises for a long time, and a lot of people, Adam specifically, oh, he's just a dunker. No. That man is a scorer, and his efficiency used to be kind of rough in past years because if you watch Bulls games, it wasn't good. But now he's part of a real team with a real system with real players around him, and you can see him shine.
Yeah, you absolutely can. So those two are the main reasons, and well, pretty much right now the only reasons.
Yeah.
Because Vucevic, 17.9 points per game, 30% from three. That's abysmal. You can't be shooting 30%.
He's been having a rough time in Chicago. He hasn't been the Orlando Vooch. He's been playing a bit more of a defensive role, and he's never been a great defender. But they've had injury issues with Caruso and with Lonzo. They're both back and healthy now, so I see them ending top of the East.
They've missed half the season as it is.
Yes.
Those two.
I see them ending towards the top of the East.
Oh, there's no way as long as you've got Levine and DeRozan right now, because they were still winning games without Vooch shooting 30%.
They were winning
without Lonzo
games
and Caruso.
without Levine, Caruso, Lonzo, or Vooch. It was just DeRozan.
Yeah, and it's insane. So they will remain top of the East.
What I'm interested to see, and I don't think it'll happen.
So when we think about Atlanta, they made a deep conference finals run, and they're playing spot right now, potentially. They just can't get it together because they've got a taste of what it's like to be in the playoffs. Regular season, not as fun. That's fine, I understand. I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening because it crossed my mind at some point, like, how is this Chicago team going to approach their first playoff run? They're guaranteed to make the playoffs. They're very likely to make a very interesting run. I don't see it faulting next year.
No.
They probably won't. They won't win the chip.
No.
I don't think so. It's
It'd
the
be-
first team. It's not.
It'd be tough.
Yeah, it's not Ray Allen, KG, and Paul Pierce. They aren't these guys.
Yeah.
But still an exceptional group of guys. So I don't think they'll win the chip. And I think they'll be fine next year, though. I don't think they're going to be in the Atlanta situation because of DeRozan.
Yeah, 100%. I also see Caruso as well being an absolute locker room leader with DeRozan.
100%.
It's that sort of laziness or complacency during the regular season isn't going to happen.
It's not. And I think they've just, not only have they got talented guys, they've got guys in the locker room that will rally them together. They're not going to allow the regular season to falter.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
I love them. I want to talk about those two top of the East.
specifically?
Because
Cool.
I'm very happy with... I like it when the leagues change
Yes.
slightly. And obviously, these two being top of the East is just it's a fun thing.
It's been a long time since
Yeah.
they've been the two best teams in the
And,
East. Two of the
and-
best teams in the East.
I know Miami had a run against LA and they looked very good. They never
Could quite get back there. But it's still that we're still in the early days of the Jimmy Butler era.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see what he can do. And right now, it appears that he's elevating the hell out of Hero and doesn't need a whole lot of supporting cast.
He makes every team he's on better.
100%. So I like the fact that these two are top of the East. It reminds me of old times.
100%. 100%. They're the two main teams you want to talk about, right?
The two main teams I want to talk about in a good way.
Do you have teams you want to talk about in a
I had one.
bad way?
I had one. I had to do it because as much as I love them, they are absolutely
I
garbage.
don't want to talk about him. Then everything I see online.
See, this man doesn't take notes, which is the issue. You say you have mental notes.
Yeah.
Give me your mental notes then.
I wanted to. No, we'll talk about the Lakers. But I want to talk about the award races.
Okay.
But we'll talk about the Lakers. But it's
the shortest one I've got.
Good, because I can't. Every time I look on Reddit, every time I look at any NBA news, it's always the Lakers, and I'm sick of it.
What I'm sick of is how often, like we'll use Reddit for an example.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like most of the time when you've got team news, it's held to that particular team subreddit.
Yeah.
When it's the Lakers,
It's front and center.
front and center.
Do you know
And I
why?
don't know fucking why, because we're garbage.
Because you're the Lakers.
And it's
You're the Lakers, so it's always going to be like that.
but we're not on the fucking front page when we're winning. That's the frustrating thing.
Lakers aren't about basketball.
No, as a franchise, no. We're
So-
about championships before anything else. And I'm not saying that to be a dick.
You are. You're right. It's the championships. It's the Lakers. There's
matter how
nothing
we
like
get
being
there.
a Laker, right?
Doesn't matter how we get there.
It doesn't matter, right? It's the same thing now. Lakers, as a franchise, isn't about basketball. Yankees aren't about basketball. It's the icon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when anything happens, when it's good, bad, otherwise, it's going to be in the spotlight.
Here's my thing, though, that I will say.
And it's the same thing that I say towards many things. Consumers are the issue here.
Yes.
If you don't want to see Lakers news, stop feeding into it.
Yes.
It's simple as
Turn
that,
your
man.
back.
Turn your back.
It's what I do.
Like, don't pre-order video games, dickheads. Don't do it.
Yes. But yes, 100%. Consumers are the issue.
Yes.
If they put it out and you look at it, you're the issue. And you say, oh, I hate this. I'll just click on it to read it. Oh, I hate the Lakers. Let me read all the articles bad about them. You're the issue.
You're the issue.
But I do think we do have to talk about how utterly fucking horrible they are this year. When we brought them up last time, they were bad.
Yeah.
They're trash now.
Yeah.
Utterly bad. They are, I believe, 11 games below 500.
Yeah.
Getting AD, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, love him or hate him, came off a phenomenal Washington run, brought them to the playoffs. We are 11 games below 500 with LeBron playing out of his fucking mind. None of this
Makes sense at all. We are, I think, 8 games behind the fucking Clippers and they don't have Kawhi Leonard.
This will be the first, if this season were to end today, it'd be first time since LeBron's rookie year he was under 500.
Yep. It doesn't make any fucking sense with him. He is playing phenomenally better than rookie Bron. We have experience managing a team, but the team doesn't work. Russell Westbrook, first time averaging under 20 points per game since 2009.
Yeah.
13 years it has been. We just gave praise to DeRozan for not averaging under 20 for 9 years. It's been 13 years for Westbrook, and all of a sudden, he just decides to shit the bed under 20 points per game.
Shit the bed
He is
badly.
fifth worst two-point field goal percentage of his entire career, under 30% from three. We just said Vooch is having a bad year because he's shooting 30%. Westbrook is under 30%. I believe over the last month, he's shooting about 11% from three. He is absolutely horrendous. He's only missed one game out of the 62 at the time of doing this.
He's always been an Iron Man.
I don't mean that in a good way. This is a big sample size.
Yeah,
He's not missed games.
true.
He's been in Iron Man this season, and now we can clearly see what the fuck has happened to Westbrook. We know he wasn't perfect. We know he had
Yes.
a lot of cons to him.
Yes.
We didn't think it was garbage. Because a lot of the detriment that comes with Westbrook, when we talk about him in the past, it's he doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Westbrook plays Westbrook. He's not playing basketball at this point.
No.
I don't get that. And then obviously Anthony Davis being out, he's played 37 games this season.
It doesn't feel like 37.
It doesn't feel like 37, right?
It feels like he's played 10 to 15 games this season.
And it's because of his played horribly, under 20% from 3-point range. Like that's hard. He used to be, quite a threat.
Yeah.
From 3.
Yeah.
Under 20% from 3. Worse than Westbrook as a whole is pretty bad. Melo and Malik Monk are our 2 most consistent scorers right now. Them and Bron are the reason why Lakers are winning any games at all.
Yeah.
It's just abysmal. Neither of us, whether you hate the Lakers or not, neither of us saw them being 11 games below 500.
No one would have predicted this.
And I don't know what it is. We know. Why'd we get rid of Caruso? Why'd we get rid of all these pieces?
We've been saying forever.
We know, but then it's also like we should still be at.
You tried to cook a stew with no stock.
Yeah.
You just chucked a bunch of meat and veggies and didn't turn the heat on. No stock. You're just like, it's in the pot. Why isn't it going?
You think that's what Bron's doing? He's trying to stir. Like, where's the heat?
Where's the heat?
Yeah.
And then he looks at Chicago. It's the hottest pot in the world. They're cooking jambalaya.
He looks at Miami. He's like, damn, I had that one day. Yeah, I had that.
Look, it's rough. This season is a wash.
It's just interesting because I bring these 3 teams up because I love change.
Yeah.
And this is change.
Yes.
Lakers came off a championship run. We looked unbeatable.
Yeah.
When we were going up against Phoenix in the first round, we were still the favorites.
It was mixed, but
despite,
yeah. Like you, there was a good chance you could beat Phoenix.
Yeah, there's just a lot of times we come up and we're still the favorites.
Yeah. Because you got
and that's no longer the case.
No.
It is. I remember hearing so often that Chicago have a lot to prove. Brand new team, they're doing fine. Mm-hmm. We have Miami. It's like, well, they made one run and they weren't able to get back to it. I wonder how it's going to go the next year. They're first seed right now. Mm-hmm. The Lakers they're a playoff lock. They're favorites for the championship. We may miss the play-in.
You've got a lot to prove.
We've got a lot to prove, and it's interesting hearing like the last however many months at the start before the season started, all these opinions. It's completely the opposite of what everyone expected with these 3 teams.
And how could you expect this Lakers season? No one could have. No. And you couldn't expect it. Literally. Like no one, Cristobal, the finger reading maidens of Josh and Tyler, we couldn't have guessed this ever.
No, this is really one of the most shocking seasons I've seen in my history of watching the game. Like, it's still... Like, if Bron was averaging 20 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, I'm like, yeah, that's not enough. He's balling the fuck out.
Averaging like 28, 7, and 7.
He's doing his typical 28, 7, and 7.
Yeah.
He's killing it right now.
Yeah. Multiple 50-point games.
But it's not enough. Like, we've seen him in the past. He can will teams to wins.
He can will teams to the playoffs.
Not right now.
But he's struggling with this one. It seems like Westbrook is an agent of chaos. He is shabriring his way.
I've said it time and time again, the West is always harder than the East.
Yes.
And he's proven he can win in the East. I'm not saying he can't win in the East. But if you don't have support in the West... Sorry, I meant all regarding the West. If you don't have support in the West, you are not going to be able to win in the West, and I don't care who you are. You can do it in the East to a degree.
Yeah.
Can't do it in the West.
I agree.
And it just...
Happy times all around, I guess.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah, what it is to be a Laker fan right now.
Yeah, right. And compare that. I think last time we talked about them, Nuggets and Lakers were pretty much the same seed. Yeah. Now you've lost a bunch of games, and we've been on a 7-game winning streak.
Keep losing, man. Like, you guys are killing it right now, Denver.
Don't know how.
You guys, it's Jokic.
Yeah, but that's a one man.
Jokic. You guys have... No, you don't have support. I mean, to be fair, like we said, Bron can't will a team to the playoffs in the West with no support. Jokic is much better than Bron right now. I'm just going to say it, in my opinion.
This season,
Jokic is the best player in the league. I think it doesn't matter where you are in the league. If you're the best player in the league at the current moment,
you have the most impact on. He has the most impact on winning in basketball right now.
Because we saw the shit show that was Portland for so long. It was Dame.
Yeah.
Dame had some MVP votes, I believe, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And, Jokic just being Jokic, he can will a team to the playoffs in the East.
And in the West.
Oh, sorry, in the West. Why do I keep saying East?
I don't know. East. I thought you said
I think it's
West.
because he looks Eastern European and my mind just goes East.
He is Eastern European.
I know. But those are the three teams I wanted to touch on. Some good, some bad. I wanted
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting, and it's some spicy stuff. It's been a month since we've been back. I didn't want to hit you with just some news. I wanted to talk about some actual teams, what's going on. Those are my notes. Love them or hate them, ladies and gentlemen.
There they are.
But spotlight's on you, buddy.
I do want to chat about Tyler Hero.
I'm glad because I'm here to chat.
And it's a thought that I've had for a little bit, and it's been topic of discussion somewhat recently. The Sixth Man of the Year award.
Okay, so walk me through it because I've not put any thought into Sixth Man of the Year.
Cool. Tyler Hero is currently coming off the bench, right? But he's averaging the same minutes as starters.
That's always a topic of conversation.
Yeah, because what is Sixth Man of the Year? Is it purely you have to come off the bench?
Yeah, you can't start.
But if you come into the game at 1 minute and play for the same as starters, what's the fucking difference?
See, I have some thoughts on this as well. It's a frustrating thing. I think I'm in the same boat as you. Mm-hmm. I think at a certain point, if you're playing starter minutes, you're not technically a bench player. You're not technically a sixth man.
Correct. JC doesn't play starter minutes, right? Ginobili, kinda. He leaned that line, but he was still somewhere in the middle. Tyler Hero plays starter minutes. But he's front runner for Sixth Man of the Year. There is no sixth man doing more than him right now.
It's been like this for a while. It's I think a couple years ago there was a sixth man, and it was the same thing. It was like, you're playing starter minutes. Why are you allowed to do it? But he's coming off the bench. I don't know how to go about this conversation. I think if you're not in the starting lineup by default, yeah, you're a bench player. You're coming off the bench. You're just good enough to get starter minutes. Why they're not being started? There are many discussions you can have. Dwight, when you start him, plays abysmal no matter how many minutes you get. When he comes off the bench, he's a much better player.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. We've seen a lot of players do this. Jordan Clarkson, for example,
Yes.
does not play well when you start him.
No.
But when you interject him at the right time, inject him into the offense, it's crazy.
He's a
what
fire
he can
starter.
do. And I can see a lot of debate regarding this. I don't care too much. It's just a sixth man award. I know it's important to some people. It's career defining. For some people, you ask Jamal Crawford and Lou Will, and it's super cool to see those guys. And Manu Ginobili, in my opinion, is the best sixth man of all time.
Yep.
But I don't know. It does feel like a cheap thing at times if you're playing 34 minutes a game, but you're coming off the bench. What are you really? I don't know. But then you've got to look at why they're starting the other players, I guess. Like, I don't know who's coming off the bench for, but I don't know. It's
a weird thought,
discussion.
right?
Yeah.
So, like, people are talking about Bobby Portis, and he feels like a good Sixth Man of the Year candidate, yet he's the starting power forward most of the time.
I don't get it. Like,
So-
do you think there's actual guidelines for this rule?
I don't
Or
think
do you
so,
think Adam Silver
but there
is just-
should be.
There
I
should
think
be.
there needs to be a limit cap, a minutes cap at
Yeah, I
like
think so.
25 to 28. I don't know the exact thing. Have to come off the bench, 25 to 28 minutes is your cap, then you pick Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah, and then the issue with that, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, because I
Yep.
agree with you, there should be limitations. It should be if you've played under X amount total minutes throughout the year, then you're good, you're eligible, I guess is the way I should put it. But I do see situations where it potentially being a motivator to not want to play at certain points of the season. If it's a close game, for example, it's the end of the season, you're very close to that mark, but this will put you over that threshold. All of a sudden, Lou Will, Jamal Crawford aren't eligible for Sixth Man of the Year. That is another topic of debate,
I'd rather that than someone never getting the chance because they only play 25 minutes.
But then it can have negative implications on
how some of the best six mans we've seen actually approach the game.
True.
Because one of the reasons why we have these phenomenal sixth men in our history
Mm-hmm.
is because
They are appreciated for being sixth men. If you don't have that sixth men title to your name, all of a sudden they may not play that way. There could be turmoil with them feeling like they deserve to be a starter. You know, we've had that plenty of times in the past. And like I said, I agree with you.
it's a difficult thing to tackle. I think if you put a very stringent rule in place, all of a sudden, that I don't think will pass the players board, first of all.
It creates more threads based off that. And I get that. There just needs to be more clarification.
There does. There needs to be clarification, and I do feel iffy if you're playing starter minutes. That, I will say that much.
But I don't know who really deserves it. I've not had my eye on Bobby Portis too much. I do like him.
People talk about Bobby Portis a lot.
Yeah, I know. But they're also talking about Bam for Defensive Player of the Year despite him missing so many games.
Yeah.
So
But I think Tyler Hero is most likely a lock for this year, as he's averaging 20 to 21 points per game in his fourth year, coming off the bench for the best
First
first seed in the East. Kind of like somewhat of a lock. I don't see any other six men doing better. I do want to talk about a different award. One you probably haven't thought about. Most improved.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I haven't thought about sixth man, I've definitely not thought about most improved.
I've thought about it.
Who?
Miles Bridges.
Okay. All right. Yep.
I just want to double check what he's averaging. So when I first saw Miles Bridges playing well this season and last season, I'm like, it's just LaMelo, right? It's not. Miles Bridges is putting the ball on the floor and scoring on his own out of the post and on drives, and his shooting's become really good. I think Miles Bridges is, I don't want to say a lock, but I think he's the front runner for most improved.
Yeah, I don't know. I've genuinely not put any thought. I haven't really thought about any of the awards as of yet, because we tend to talk about them quite frequently on the pod.
and I just thought I was going to talk about teams. So
I'm glad you mentioned it though, because it is getting towards
the end of the season.
And we only ever talk about MVP.
yeah.
But I just want to say, so last year he averaged 42% from the field.
That's horrendous.
He's now up to 50.
Big improvement.
Yeah.
Wow.
He went from 33% from three to 40% from three.
Holy shit.
80% free throw to 86% free throw. 5 rebounds a game to 6 rebounds a game. An extra assist per game. And he's averaging the same amount of points. But overall, a lot more efficient. And if you're watching how he's scoring, it's last year was more lobs. But this year, he's putting ball on the floor and he's becoming a isolation scorer as well.
I'm curious. So you said same points per game,
Yeah.
but hyper efficient compared to his last
A lot
season.
more efficient. Yeah.
Why is that? Shouldn't he have more points per game?
Right.
That doesn't make sense
Let
to
me
me.
just double check.
Because they don't
Maybe I read
have
that
a
wrong.
second phenomenal scorer.
Oh, I read the wrong thing. Hang on.
Okay, this man's feeding me misinformation.
No, it just wasn't fully
Were
updated.
any of those stats relevant? Because those were huge jumps. Huge.
Okay,
huge
it is
jumps.
wrong. I apologize. I was giving you wrong stats.
Because my jaw hit the floor. There were 8% improvements in that over a span of
Don't look on
season.
Wikipedia.
Fuck no, Beeble reference, baby.
Yeah, I'm people.
All right, what's Beeble reference?
So,
It's going to make or break your argument.
no, it's absolutely breaking my argument.
Ah, no.
So, he went from 12 points per game last year to 20 this year.
That's huge.
Huge, 7 points
Yep.
jump. He went from 29 minutes last year to 36 this year.
Okay.
He's went from 50% from the field to 48. So still
Slight.
decrease, but he's shooting twice as many shots.
Okay, so volume went up, but not really a decline.
Yeah,
in
he went from
percentage.
attempting 9 to nearly 16.
Wow, yeah.
3-point percent dropped to 32, but he's also averaging 2 more per game. His free throw percentage is pretty much the same, but damn, that really broke my argument.
It kind of, I mean, an 8-point improvement for points per game is substantial.
Yeah.
That's enough to get in conversation.
Bugger.
Averaging 20 points per game as someone which previously averaged 12, that'll get you noticed. He's still efficient. 32% from 3 is not good.
He was just shooting 40% last year. I'm like, yep, that's made my fucking argument. Completely
Wikipedia, what the fuck?
Didn't have this year's
Someone-
stats, right? Because I went to the stats, right? And I was like, yep, the bottom one. Cool. I saw 2021, perfect. No, that was last year's.
Why do they not have current years?
I don't fucking
That's so weird. So this is an interesting spot you've put yourself in.
I still think he's good for most improved.
The weirdest spot.
Just cut this whole segment.
Look,
killed me.
I agree with you though. Like getting to 20 points per game is enough to get you attention.
And their isolation scores as well.
I would have thought he was a lock if those percentage numbers were accurate. But little did he know he was reading last year's stats.
I'm just going to quit the pod.
That might be the funniest thing you've ever done on the pod. That's really fucking funny.
That's funny. I should have just ran with it and
You
lied.
went from how many minutes to everything from his assists and
Wikipedia
stuff.
has it written out perfectly.
My gosh.
And I realized that was last year's and they don't have anything about this year's stats.
So it's not really on Wikipedia.
No, you just got to go back.
You just didn't read. It was, 20 to 2021.
That sums up my thoughts and feelings.
Oh my gosh. Any other players or teams you wanted to touch on this episode, my man?
I don't think so.
I think that about wraps it up for me.
Yeah.
I will say one thing that happened to me this week that made my confidence hit the floor. It's completely not basketball related, but if we're wrapping it up, I'll tell
Go
you
for
anyway.
it.
I was out doing my grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Had my AirPods in as I usually do. Bump into some Polo G. It was a good time. Had basket in hand. And now I do this thing where if I see a handicapped person in a wheelchair, I'm not looking at them. I consciously think I'm not looking at them because you know how they hit you with the I don't want to be looked at. I don't want to be treated different.
Yeah.
I consciously don't look at them. They don't need help.
But I walked by this man. He says, "Excuse me." So I pull the AirPod out. Lucky Polo G wasn't rapping too loud. I was like, "What's up?" He was like, "Can you get..." It was the top of the shelf in the freezer section. I was like, "Can you get the ice cream, red ice block ice cream, all the way at the back, top shelf?"
Yeah.
Now, I'm 5'8".
Yeah. On
I'm
a good
pretty,
day.
I'm pretty small, yeah. And it was like, "Can you get it for me?" I'm like, "Sure, man. I got this." It took me 3 fucking attempts on my tippy toes. And the man had the nerve to say, "You don't have much more luck than me." My confidence hit the fucking center of the earth. I wanted to throw him at him. But I've never been emasculated so heavily in my life.
I would have gotten him and put him back up.
Man,
Fuck you.
One leg. He was missing a whole leg.
And he still had time to rip on you.
Yeah, he roasted me while I got him his groceries, essentially.
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh, but that's it for me, brother. It's been a good episode.
Good way to end it. If you've made it through this far, thank you very, very much. It's a favorite part of our month every month. If you listen to the audio version on Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Google Pod, Apple Pod, thank you very much. If you're not, we have a video version on YouTube at the Lowbot Podcast.
Edited by yours truly.
Edited by me. And I got to go back to editing now. I had a month off.
Yeah.
And catch y'all next week.
Peace.
Bye.
Me.